channel. Today's video is going to be about something about the energetic changes that some of us are experiencing nowadays, and this is related to when you are going deeper into your states of awareness. Many of us who have experienced this will be able to empathize with what I am saying. It is when you go into the deeper states of awareness, you will realize that when the layers of our conditioning begins to peel off, that hold us down to this ground in a very heavy way. In a heavy way, I mean to say, like from the perspective of ego, how we were trained or we had been perceiving the world around us, when that begins to fall off, a lot of fear rises to the surface when that is happening. So I'm going to talk about how to deal with that fear when you are rising up in your awareness, when you are getting connected with those dimensions of your consciousness where you are where automatically the layers of your conditioning begins to open up and your illusions begin to fall off about your perception of the self. So when this happens, it is like you are dying. A part of you is dying. A part of you that you believed to be you is dying, and that could be a very scary experience for many of us, and that is a natural process of awakening through your own consciousness when we begin to decondition the layers of how we perceive the world and begin to make that connection to our core self. A lot of fear rises to the surface, and how do we hold our ground in those turbulent times? I'm going to share a few things that has helped me. It might be helpful to you. Now, first of all, when this is happening, we must be aware that this is a natural experience. When we are rising up in our awareness, when we are observing our own selves, and we are observing how what we perceived, the concept of self is falling off. It could be a very scary experience because it is like somebody is pulling away the ground in which you were standing. Somebody is snatching away from you your reality. So when that happens, it's like you're falling down either from a very high tower, or somebody has pulled away the ground from underneath your feet, and you are you don't know how to stand. So you're falling away and you don't know where you're going. That could be a very frightening experience for many of us. So first of all, acceptance of the fact that this is a natural process, this is a natural part of your process, and this can happen to anybody who goes through this universal process of energy rising through their systems. We have to accept that fear is a natural part. We have to sit with that fear. We have to accept that fear and acknowledge that fear. So when that happens, the first thing to do is to calmly sit down and observe that fear. Now, when I say observe that fear, that means like we are observing that fear as if it is sitting in front of us on a chair. Believe me, when you are able to put yourself in that place and observe your fear has a tendency to pass away more effectively and quickly, instead of just becoming chaotic, panicky. What you're doing, you're not helping your fear. So what we do when we do that, when we are in the position of an observer and observing our fear, we are giving a space to our fear to sit down, and we hold that experience, we befriend that fear, we acknowledge that fear, and we observe that fear, and we provide it a safe container. And believe me, when you do so, your fear will befriend you, and your fear will melt away more quickly rather than going into a place of panic. Because when you become an observer of your fear, you are providing a safe container, and a healing happens in that safe container. So it also allows you to hold your ground when you need it the most, being in an observer's position. And secondly, just sit with that fear, watch it, and let it speak to you, whatever it wants to tell you. Just observe as a good listener without judging it. And that's all. That's what we need to hold a ground in that situation. And it will pass off eventually. So acceptance of what is very important, especially like when we are going through a lot of meditation or awareness techniques or spiritual work. A lot of people go through these stages of consciousness when their layers of conditioning begin to fall apart, and they are in the process of emergence, and they are in the process of getting or seeking or getting in touch with their core self, the core connection, the connection of their spirit, when this might happen. So going into a space of an observer and acceptance of whatever arises is a very essential step if you do not want to get stuck in that panicky states, because I know I can empathize how frightening and scary those stages could be, because our concept of the self, how we perceived ourselves, or the kind of belief system that we, a kind of a container of the belief systems that that was holding our sense of self together, it begins to fall apart. And when this happens, it is like all our brain sense of referencing related to the concept of self is also diminishing, it is falling apart. And that could be a very, very frightening and scary space to be, because all identifications are falling apart, all attachments are falling apart, and our ego doesn't have that solid identity to hold on to. And when that happens, the fear rises to the surface. And believe me, that is a blessing in disguise, because that challenging part of your awareness process, if you're able to hold it, and if you're able to identify and accept it, you will pass through it more easily, and it has a sequence and it will take its time. So believe me, these two things will definitely help you identifying and knowing that this process is universal. It is not that something is wrong with you. It is happening to a lot of people around the world. It is a natural process, and it has a sequence. And just going into a space of being an observer and holding and accepting whatever is happening is the best way to cope with it and stay grounded in that most ungrounded experience of your life. I hope this video would help you in some way, and if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I will talk to you in my other videos. Till then, you stay blessed. Lots of love and light.